You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Black 33!
Live at the studio of Worldwide Sports Radio.
All right, let's go.
It's the Third and Long Show. And here's your hosts, Matty Caps and KT Hepburn.
And welcome, everybody, to a brand new show of Third and Long here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We are live here in Hop Hog, New York. You got myself, Mr. Matty Caps, along with my co-host, producer, good friend, confidant, comrade, Mr. Speedy Petey, on the ones and twos over there on the mic board himself. No Katie Hepburn today. She is still sick, so hopefully we get to see her next week sometime. But, Speedy, how's your day? How's everything going before we get into this?
My day's been all over the place so far. I'm confused on what was ever happening with those shows. I was editing for a while. My software's still being annoying. And before I left, apparently I left my phone at my grandparents' house. So, yeah.
So you're phoneless.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
You're all over the place. You're stressing out. Speedy, just relax. Nothing to stress out about here.
Well, there's picks. That'll help.
Yes, and you know, during football season, it's our favorite day of the week, ladies and gentlemen, because it is the NFL Pick'em Thursday as we get into the AFC and NFC divisional rounds. We're going to do our Pick'ems for it. And, Speedy, by next week, I want you to try and do your best to just do our scores for our Thursday Pick'ems.
Okay, I think you were up by, I want to say 3 games.
Really?
Last time I checked, I think that was in week 16.
Interesting.
I obviously, there's some weeks I didn't get of yours.
Yeah. Because I was away. Yeah.
Obviously, I was out the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I know what.
Well, just from what we
right,
have.
I know how well I did, but I didn't. There were no shows for a week either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just from what we have, but I just want to see where we stand going after this divisional round and stuff, because this divisional round has the makings for a very, very, very good football Sunday and Saturday.
I know I was 2-2 with the wild card. I got the Titans and Seahawks right, and I got the other 2 wrong. So
okay. So we'll see how it pans out. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Pick'em show at the end. We're going to talk about, Speedy and I are going to break down today the AFC divisional rounds, as yesterday Speedy and I broke down the NFC divisional round. Now Speedy and I have to break down the AFC divisional round, because there's a lot to talk about within the AFC. Tennessee and Baltimore, Kansas City and Houston. There's a lot to go around when we get into that. But let's get into it right now. And the first thing, and one of the main things I want to get into, and this is a storyline that's going to be going on for a little while, Tom Brady and Drew Brees, both out of contract when the season's over. There's a lot of rumblings and rumors going around about the New England Patriots and Tom Brees, and there's not so much rumors and rumblings going around about Drew Brees. So, Speedy, I'm going to ask you to take this first. I'm going to ask you, what do you think about the rumblings and rumors of Tom Brady first? Before we get into Drew Brees, we're going to talk about Tom Brady first.
Well, Tom Brady is an interesting case because we know Robert Kraft has definitely been loyal to him in every aspect of it. So I know he's going to try his best to try to convince Tom Brady to stay. Now, Tom Brady is 42 years old. He claims he can play till he's 45. How much of that is true, I don't know. But the thing is, I don't think he's going to take a pay cut this time. He's taken pay cuts for years to help the team with the Patriots. Not that the Patriots are these Steinbrenner.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's helped him when he's taking
sure.
pay cuts.
Right. To an extent, I think it has. It's not like the Patriots are buying everybody, but it gives them flexibility to get players from other rosters. And Belichick's coaching mantra has always been that way. He does do a great job at poaching players that other teams don't want, and he builds up that way rather than just doing it straight from the draft, revitalizing himself with heavy first-round picks all the time. They trade back all the time and just find value. So that's allowed them to do it. But I don't know if Brady's going to do that this time. I feel like if he's going to extend his career for 2 years, maybe 3 years more, he's going to want one more big contract. And the Patriots, with some exceptions, have been notorious for not paying their players. So will they actually own up to the most important player in their franchise history, we will see. But I'll tell you this, I don't think he's going to take a pay cut this time. And if he doesn't, I can see him walking. I really can.
You really can see him walking?
If the Patriots are not going to pay him what he wants
at 42 years old, he's probably going to want a 2-year, $40 million contract. You think he's going to get that?
Well, I think it's possible if they realize that of the value of keeping him. Because I think Brady, in terms of at this point of his career, because he definitely did show some regression this year, his best opportunity will be just to stay in New England. But the Patriots will see what their plans are and if they are actually willing to pay. Now, again, I think they definitely can be with Kraft's influence. Kraft loves him, and obviously the fans love him. So that'll be the case. But again, Belichick still has control of what he wants to do. He normally does not like to pay his players, and a lot of times his players don't play well in other places, so he ends up being right about those circumstances anyway. But this is Tom Brady. This is different. We'll see if they can finally if they will finally give in to giving him that money, and being how great he's been for the organization. He's the best player they've ever had by far, and we'll see if they actually do it this time. But with their history, there's always a hint they won't.
You got to look at Tom Brady right now. He's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Everybody could argue that every which way, and there's always arguments against it. There's always arguments for Tom Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time. Of course, this is the biggest looming free agent the Patriots for the greatest New England Patriots player in their history. Tom Brady's contract voids after the season, and the Pats are contractually prevented from franchising their star quarterback. So the extension the team handed Brady in August was really a raise with 2 voidable years added to the deal for cap purposes. So you have to keep that in mind as well. If Tom Brady retires or leaves for another team in the offseason, New England will be stuck with $13.5 million in dead money on their 2020 cap for the future Hall of Famer. So if the Patriots re-sign Tom Brady before the opening day of free agency, they don't have to worry about dead money whatsoever. There are plenty of reasons to believe that a reunion between Tom Brady and the only team he has ever played for makes sense for both sides. But the Pats would already have more than $21 million in dead money on their cap before pursuing a new quarterback this offseason if Brady moves on. They shouldn't re-sign Brady solely to avoid the dead money, but in a free agent market in which there are hardly any sure things nowadays, he still is comfortably the best quarterback option. But we have a call. I already know who it is.
Yep.
Jeff from Tampa. Jeff, what's going on, buddy?
Did you say Tom Brady is arguably the best quarterback? There's no argument anymore. Will you people stop with this? The argument used to be, okay, he wins Super Bowls, but he doesn't have any individual records. He basically owns every record now, too.
No, Drew Brees does.
Oh, Drew Brees owns one record, and by the way, that record is a fraudulent record. Tom Brady's, 2 touchdowns behind him, 3 touchdowns behind him?
Yeah, but okay, you could say it's a fraudulent record, but again, Drew Brees is still going to play next year, and he's still 2-3 years younger than Tom Brady.
So is Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with that, but to say that it's a fraudulent record is asinine.
It is a fraudulent record. Why don't we add in all the playoff touchdowns people throw?
Well, in playoffs, I don't see anybody beating Tom Brady because he's been there the most.
I'm saying add the playoffs to the regular season. Where do we get?
Oh, well, then
Tom Brady's miles ahead of everybody.
He probably beats Drew Brees by 20-plus touchdowns. Or close to it. Close to it.
It's outrageous. That's why I think the records are ridiculous. Are those games played? Why don't we count those?
Well, those are playoff records. There's a difference between regular season and playoff records.
And Tom Brady makes so much more than Drew
baseball,
Brees does because
home
Drew
runs
Brees
is
plays in a
just
good
home
division.
runs.
What's up?
In baseball, home runs is just home runs, right? You hit 600 career home runs, right? How about Tom Brady threw X amount of fucking career touchdowns? You know, they don't do that. It's ridiculous.
Jeff, I'm not here to argue about who's the greatest quarterback of all time because
there is no argument.
I'm still going to come at you and say Joe Montana.
Oh, I know, because Joe Montana has half the yards passed and half of everything else. The only statistical category that Tom Brady can never touch Joe Montana
is 4-0 in a Super Bowl.
is winning percentage in the Super Bowl. But that also doesn't count the times Tom Brady has gotten there, which blows him away, and the wins.
Yeah, listen, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just telling you, if he's 4-0 in the Super Bowl, everything nowadays is based on wins. I mean, it's Joe Montana. But I'm not here to argue about who's the GOAT. We're here to talk about Tom Brady and his contract and what do you think is best for him and what's going to happen.
He's going back.
You think so?
Going back. And the Patriots are going to load up. I'll even tell you who the Patriots are going to sign at tight end.
Is that what you did? I was at the doctor's when you called me, and I forgot to call you back today, so I apologize for that.
I called you because, my greatest dream of all time is coming true. Mike Leach is going to be in the SEC.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Dude,
yes, he
we
is.
now have an egg bowl of Lane Kiffin versus Mike Leach. Stop it.
But, Jeff, let me ask you, Tom Brady, if he was to leave New England and he wasn't to retire, where do you think Tom Brady's best bet would be to go? If he wasn't to retire and he was to leave New England? Tennessee. You think Tennessee? You don't like the Colts either? You don't like the Colts or Chargers?
No. There's something to be There's something to be thrown in this whole mix, right? And God forbid I'm going to say this about Indianapolis. If anyone's listening to your show in Indianapolis, they're going to get all butthurt. Guess what? I don't care. Your city sucks, right? There's only one good thing about Indianapolis, and that's St. Elmo's. You ever end up in Indianapolis? Go eat at St. Elmo's. It's ridiculous, right? The fiery shrimp, unbelievable, right? But that's it with Indianapolis. Your town stinks. I'm not going to pick up my supermodel, hot Brazilian wife and drop her in the middle of a farm. Are you kidding?
No,
We're going to Nashville, baby.
No, and listen, I totally understand that and stuff, but with how Ryan Tannehill's been playing, and obviously
Tannehill's great, but if you want a guy that'll get you over
Mike
the top,
Vrabel and Tom Brady have a relationship already by playing together for X amount of years in New England.
Right, there's that connection as well. The city of Nashville would be an attraction to bring his family to for sure. And then if you look at the complaint with the Patriots, and you brought it up earlier, what's the complaint? No weapons. Well, now
none whatsoever.
Well, now look at Ted. Well, you got to give him some time. Edelman's a weapon. Stop it.
Well, no. And I agreed, and I've said that for the past week, that Julian Edelman was the only weapon that he's had. And I even said N'Keal Harry, he's a tough one to say right away because he missed the first 10 weeks.
He only played 6 games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He missed the first 10 weeks. And I actually said this on Mike Guido's show. I said I think N'Keal Harry is a superstar in the making, to be honest with you.
Right.
He just needs to get his feet wet. He needs to get into preseason. He needs to get all his summer workouts. People tend to forget he was a rookie and he missed all that.
Plus, he's a different type of receiver than what they've had. It probably has taken a while for him to adjust.
Him and DK Metcalf are going to be the best receivers in that draft class.
We'll wait and see. DK Metcalf has proven it. N'Keal Harry, to be determined. So
yes,
I'm not going to go that far with
but
N'Keal
again,
Harry.
I'm very high in N'Keal Harry. Listen, Jeff. You were very high out of him from Arizona State, as was I. I love N'Keal Harry from Arizona State.
But here's the difference. When you look, the complaint is weapons. Now look at Tennessee. Jonnu Smith, pretty good tight end.
Getting better and better. Jonnu Smith is getting better and better. You're right. He's easily making himself a top 5, top 6 tight end.
Jay Brown ain't a weapon.
He's a tiny weapon, but he is a weapon.
Dude, he's going to win
Rookie.
Rookie of the Year. He's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Probably. It's either going to be him or what? Josh Jacobs?
It's either going to, I think it's one of those two, absolutely.
Right. And then not for nothing, Corey Davis, a lot of people didn't like him out of college. Well, I think he was a Central or Western Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Western Michigan.
Right.
They reached on him pretty badly, though.
Right. And he might have been reached there, but, listen, he's another guy that can fly. He could be a weapon. You throw Tom Brady in that mix and not Ryan Tannehill, look out.
Well, I'll be honest with you. You're forgetting the biggest weapon Tennessee has, and that's the 6'3", 245-pound Derrick Henry. That's going to run all over everybody.
Right. Well, that's another thing. And not for nothing, another piece of familiarity there in Tennessee. Who's the other back in Tennessee?
Is it
Deion Lewis?
Deion Lewis, yeah.
Where did Deion Lewis come from?
Not New England.
Absolutely New England.
I'm kidding. I know he came from New England. No, I get that, but also keep in mind, too, New England never, in my opinion, have never had a back like Derrick Henry. and the way Derrick Henry is playing. I think Derrick Henry, if Tom Brady was to go to Nashville, Tennessee, and go play for the Titans, I think Derrick Henry can prolong Tom Brady's career. If you want me to be honest with you, that's just my opinion.
He very well could, but that's the landing spot for him if he leaves. But did you see the message he sent to El Prez from Barstool?
Yeah, you sent it to me.
Back for number 7.
Listen, it is possible. We know how Robert Kraft feels about Tom Brady. Robert Kraft has an infatuation with Tom Brady. He loves everything about Tom Brady. Tom Brady could kill his wife, and it's not Tom Brady's fault. Like, that's how it is. He could kill Robert Kraft's wife, and Robert Kraft would be like, "All right, it's not your fault. It happens."
Robert Kraft's wife actually died. Stop it.
Well, I'm saying, or girlfriend, whatever. Sorry. But you know what I'm saying.
RKK.
Oh my God! Shut up with Robert Kraft.
Robert Kraft will offer Tom Brady all the massages he wants.
I was getting to the massages and all that type of stuff. But Jeff, now I ask you and stuff. What kind of contract do you think Tom Brady gets, and what kind of contract do you think he wants? Because obviously it's going to be they're going to be completely different.
2 years, $60 million.
2 years? Did you just say $60 million?
Yep. That's the going rate for quarterbacks, $30 million a year, 2 years.
You're right, but he's 42 years old.
And he's also the best option that you can get, and I will take Tom Brady's fourth quarter experience and that kind of stuff in a heartbeat.
Really? So you're going to sit there and pay a 42-year-old quarterback 2 years, $60 million when you still have other people to pay. Keep in mind, Devin McCourty's a free agent, and he's been your best secondary guy for the best. Okay, but again, I mean, he's just finishing a $47.5 million contract for 5 years. I mean, there's other guys too. Van Noy, Jamie Collins, like.
Oh, but Collins is probably going to re-sign for like a mid-level exception. Van Noy will probably walk for more money. I'll give you an underrated one. Joe Tooney will.
Joe Tooney and what about Philip Dorsett? Philip Dorsett.
Let him go, dude.
Like you think just let him go?
He's replaceable. Yeah.
Dude, let him. Dude, you're just talking about. First of all, I don't want to hear this out of you. Oh my God, Philip Dorsett's going to walk, and then we're just spent 10 minutes talking about how the Patriots have no weapons.
No, whoa. I've said over and over again that the Patriots have no weapons, and I've said it repeatedly that if the New England Patriots had Josh Gordon or Antonio Brown for the whole season, they wouldn't be where they are right now, and that's golfing.
Josh Gordon took himself off the field.
Listen, agreed. I'm not disagreeing with that. Okay, I'm just stating that if one of those two were on the New England Patriots, let alone both of them, if they were on the New,
weren't knuckleheads.
Yeah, the New England Patriots, one wouldn't have finished 12-4. They would have probably got the bye. Okay. Maybe possibly everything would have had to go through New England. Who knows? I don't like to play shoulda, woulda, coulda. But
if they had both seeded, obviously would have been a different offense. But once that happened, the offense was the offense. I mean,
of course.
You saw the last 6-8 weeks of the season was what you saw in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, listen, of course, and that's how it is, though. But I sit there and think of a 42-year-old quarterback for $60 million when I have other type of important players to sign. To me, it seems like a lot of money. I was saying 2 years, $40 million, just because of the cap space and how much the New England Patriots have in the cap space, and their cap space is only $42 million this season.
I mean, it is what it is, man. They're going to have to draft well again. They have a lot of young guys on the team, and some of them are going to.
How are their draft picks this upcoming draft? Do they have a bunch, or do they have the normal?
They traded away their 2 to Atlanta.
Yeah, they traded away 2 to Atlanta. They're going to get the most third-round compensation picks. They're going to end up with 12 draft picks again this year.
You think so?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go look at what they have.
No. I'm going to do that when we go to break in a few. But I'm gonna look at their draft picks. But I sit here and think I don't know if I'm the type of owner, regardless of how much my quarterback has given to me for the past 2 decades or 19 years, however long Tom Brady has played quarterback for the New England Patriots. Okay, before he took over from Drew Bledsoe. But I don't know if I'm willing to give a 42-year-old quarterback who has shown signs this season of slowing down, and yes, a lot of it has to do with the weapons, okay? But I don't know if I give a 42-year-old quarterback 2 years, $60 million.
All right, I agree with that on principle, right? Just on principle and looking at it from the outside, I see what you're saying. So I kind of agree with you. However, people said the same thing last year. What happened when he went into Kansas City? How many 3rd and 10s did he convert?
Seven of 10 in Kansas City, or 6 and 10. 60% of the third downs in that Kansas City playoff game were 7.
Be slowing down then too, right?
Jeff, you don't got to tell me. I think I spoke to you about this during the week. Tom Brady, this is the first year I sat back and I said, wow, Tom Brady looks like Father Time is catching up to him finally at 42 years old.
Right, and maybe that's true, and maybe they will regret signing him, but they're not going to be really in a position to draft a quarterback high or something, and maybe Tua falls to them or something, and they can redshirt him a year or something like that. I mean, who knows? But, I mean, my personal thought is that they're probably going to be drafting a left tackle with their 23rd pick, kicking Wynn inside to replace Joe Thuney, and rolling from there.
Well, you already have Shaq Mason locked up, which is good, but you have backup interior linemen in Ted Karras and James Ferentz, who are unrestricted free agents this season, who could easily plug in there.
A guy we drafted last year that got hurt and didn't play the whole year, and Yodny Kajusti, he'll be coming back. Our center will be coming back, who's David Andrews, who missed the entire year with blood clots and stuff. Dude, lineman is kind of an issue, but they always seem to draft 4 or 5 of them every year.
To a point, yeah. Linemen are an issue to a point, and whoever your lineman coach is over in New England, he always gets them up ready to play and everything. But again,
that's why it's concerning, but it's not.
Maybe a little bit more than usual, but again, your offensive lineman coach is obviously very good because he always puts out a good product out there for the New England Patriots. But again,
look what he did, right? We had talked off air a long time ago about when the Patriots lost Nate Solder to the Giants, and you're like, I love this move. This is great.
I did. I loved the move at the time.
At the time, yeah, because it was a big need.
Exactly. That's my whole point. Nate Solder was a huge need for the New York Giants at that time.
And I think we knew he'd regress with just with the system, but we didn't think it would be that much.
And that quick.
And then, but look what the Patriots did, right? They lose a guy who was considered a cornerstone of that line, and they took a fat nobody in Trent Brown and got him to be the highest paid lineman in the league after that.
Yeah, and I mean Shaq Mason too. Imagine if Shaq Mason hasn't been injury riddled just yet, he would be a different hot topic too, because he'd probably be one of the best linemen. He's come along this season, in that.
Joe Thuney was an All-Pro this year. People don't talk about it, but Joe Thuney was an All-Pro.
He's underappreciated.
Very underappreciated. So,
and that's the truth.
Right, but they'll probably take Isaiah Wynn and kick him inside
to
replace
him.
So
Absolutely.
they won't have to pay him, and they'll probably draft a left tackle.
Isaiah Wynn is definitely getting inside and all that stuff. But let me ask you this, Jeff, before we go over to the New Orleans Saints, okay? Before we go into the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees and that stuff, because I have a lot to say about that. If you look at Tom Brady now, okay, and you see that he's slowing down and progressing, and then you look at the quarterbacks out there, because keep in mind, Teddy Bridgewater is a free agent as well, okay? Is there anybody you could possibly want more for less out there, or is Tom Brady your dead set guy? Because now I ask you, if Tom Brady doesn't go back to New England, where do they go?
Well, there is another guy that instantly I know that you're going to hate it, but it makes complete sense, and it's shown that it has worked before. What about Jacoby Brissett?
Well, again, why would I hate that? I mean, Jacoby Brissett.
Well, because it didn't work out with the Colts and blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's not working out with the Colts. And the GM has come out and said that they're not sold on Jacoby Brissett. And I was having this argument with Mike Guido, I think, a couple days ago about this situation of Jacoby Brissett and everything, because I said Tom Brady could be an answer for the for the Indianapolis Colts because of that offensive line, which is good. Okay, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, that guard for the Indianapolis Colts, what's his name? Quentin Nelson. One, he's the best guard in the NFL in his second or third year.
Remember we were talking about that draft, and you said there wasn't a lineman worth taking in the first
round?
I
said there was one in Quentin Nelson. I said there was one, and that was it.
Right, I think that was me. I don't think that was
I said it was Quentin Nelson. I loved Quentin Nelson.
Lineman in that draft. He's like, you don't do that. Now the kid's just lighting everybody
he's the best offensive guard in the NFL, and it's not even close, to be honest with you.
He's a road grader. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, but again, I sit here and think, and you think if Tom Brady went anywhere, it'd be the Tennessee Titans, which would be interesting because...
Right, and if they were to replace him, what would be wrong with Jacoby Brissett? If Indianapolis is going to jettison Brissett, dude, he did a really good job in New England when Brady was out.
No, you're right. You're right.
So he would be able to, and not for nothing, the Patriots love bringing back guys that they threw to somebody else, and like, you know, I think that's what Bill Belichick loves more than anything else. When guys get like a little ornery and unhappy, he goes, "Oh, you don't like it here?
Come back.
I'll send you somewhere miserable."
Yeah, and then you'll come back. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. So
look what happened with Jamie Collins. He was like, "Oh, I want to get paid." He's like, "Oh yeah, you want to get paid?
See ya.
Enjoy Cleveland."
Yep, have fun. But Jeff,
and then what happened? Jamie Collins is like,
is back.
Please let me come
please
back.
come back. But Jeff, hang on. We're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to get into Drew Brees and what happens with the New Orleans Saints if they are destined for a divorce. So, Jeff, hang on. We're going to get into that when we come back here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
New Year is the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You are listening to the Third and Long Show. And here's your hosts, Matty Caps and KT Hepburn.
631-300-4477 is the number to reach us here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You still got myself, my good friend, Mr. Speedy PD over there, and Jeff from Tampa. You still on the line?
New Year, no beef.
It's funny you said that, and I just said to Speedy before we came back on, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at Dallas Cowboy fans right now. And the reason why I said that is because remember that time when they all thought they were going to get Sean Payton as their next head coach, and they were going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl?
You don't even need to go back that far. Remember week 3 when they were all using their shake weights on each other? Oh my God, we're going to the Super Bowl. That was week 3 of this year.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the coaching standpoint, though. It's just comical. And the best was the Beavs' comment about winning the Super Bowl 3 times in a row.
Dude, do you realize I've been texting the Beavs every day asking him if he's jumped off a bridge yet?
And what does he say?
I texted him on Sunday, what time are the Cowboys playing? Every day.
And how'd that work out?
He's so mad. He's so upset at me. He calls me an ass every time. He's like, you're an ass.
But Jeff,
I texted him yesterday. I go, is this one of the 3 Super Bowls in a row Dak Prescott was going to win?
All right, enough about the Cowboys. I was just thinking about that when they thought they were going to get Sean Payton.
They're the worst people on the planet, hands down, bar none. Dude, Philly fans are all going to heaven compared to Cowboys fans.
And that's tough because the Philly fans are extremely tough. So I don't know about that. But Jeff,
dude, I mean, on the scale of just obnoxiousness, who's worse, Philly or Dallas?
Oh, well, for me, it's the Dallas Cowboy fans. And it's not even close.
And it's not even close.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
It's
There's
not.
no debate over it.
No.
Cowboys fans are the worst. Dude, Cowboys fans are so annoying. Even other Cowboys fans are like, oh, I wish they would shut up.
So, Jeff, let me ask you now. We talked about Tom Brady already and where we think he could possibly end up if he wasn't to go back to New England, talking about the money situation. Now I want to turn our attention to the NFC side, the NFC South, and the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees, because now the Saints are in a little bit of a conundrum because they don't have any quarterback on their roster right now. None. Taysom Hill's a free agent too. So I ask you, Jeff, you look at Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and the New Orleans Saints. What do you think happens to Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints?
I think they're going to try to re-sign all of them.
All of them. All 3 quarterbacks.
Well, right, but here's the thing. I don't consider Taysom Hill a quarterback, right?
Taysom Hill does everything. That's basically...
He does everything. Here's why I say that, right? Like, let's be real about this whole thing. Like, let's just be honest about the entire thing. They probably want Bridgewater as their quarterback of the future. They like Teddy Bridgewater. They'll probably
he played well. He beat the Dallas Cowboys this season.
Everyone else did too. So did Sam Darnold. Who cares?
Yeah, that's my man.
Yeah, but this year he was terrible. Let's be honest.
He wasn't terrible. When he came back, he was actually pretty darn good, especially second half of the season.
But here's the thing. They're going to try to re-sign Brees. Brees still has some football in him. I think that they like Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback of the future. And I think that they like Taysom Hill, but not as a quarterback. He's just an offensive player. If you're being completely honest, if Taysom Hill was going to be your quarterback of the future, you wouldn't be out there putting him at fullback and running him into like at no
running
time,
back, fullback,
right,
wide receiver, special
right,
special teams.
special teams, right. At no point when Aaron Rodgers was sitting behind Brett Favre did they go, you know what'd be great?
Go play
Throw him in there
fullback.
at fullback.
Yeah, go let number 12 go play fullback.
Right, like people that they see as quarterbacks of the future, they don't do that with.
And listen, I agree. I agree. They don't do that with.
Right, they're not. I think that they like Taysom Hill. I think that they think that he's a valuable piece. I think he has value. Like, I would like Taysom Hill on my team.
Of course, I would love Taysom Hill on the New York Giants as well. But you look at Drew Brees right now, his contract's going to void after the season, and that'll keep the Saints on the hook for $21.3 million in dead money on their 2020 cap. If Drew Brees isn't on the roster by the first day of the new league year, which is, I think, March something, Speedy, what is it? March what? The new league year.
12th, I think.
I know it's in March sometime.
I think it's March 12th.
The Saints will eat that penalty for years of saving money on his deal. So, I mean, you look at it, if Brees wants to come back to the Saints, it will most likely hand him, all right, another multi-year deal that voids out into a one-year contract, which would save them from paying those dead money charges. So, in my opinion, Drew Brees will be back in a New Orleans Saints uniform. He loves New Orleans.
Can I give you something unrelated, and we can go back to this in like 2 seconds?
Sure.
I got ESPN on right now, and everyone's laughing at Jay Cutler because he's doing this axe throwing competition, and he can't hit the target. Oh, God, a quarterback can't hit the target. I mean, this is just, oh, dude, and everyone's laughing at him. It's brilliant. But anyways, yeah, the Saints.
Oh, man. Well, talking about Drew Brees, what do you think, Jeff? And Speedy too. We didn't even hear from you really with with Tom Brady. We did hear from you at first. But Speedy, you let me ask you this. If you were Drew Brees, okay, what are you doing?
I'm staying with the Saints. I think the Saints have the best chance of winning right now. They got a great roster. I think the problem with them, they just got to get mentally on track because they've just been hindered by so many different things in their playoffs, and they can't just waste all this right now. And if you're Drew Brees, why would you want to go out the way they have with the blown call?
Boom. Hit the head right on the
overtime loss. Drew Brees did all he could to come back in that game only to watch his defense crumble in overtime. That's not a way he's going to want to go out. And he knows the Saints team has really been rejuvenated nicely. They were just very average for a long time after they lost to Seattle in the playoffs. They really rebuilt this team very nicely. The Saints have drafted very well, and he knows that this is going to be his best chance. A great coach in Sean Payton, a very good roster. They need a couple things, maybe another receiver, maybe another corner, just a couple things. They really don't need much on that team, and that's
all they freaking need. Like, if you're the Saints, all you do all 7 rounds is draft wide receivers. If you're gonna, you have Michael Thomas. Like, Drew Brees isn't leaving to go somewhere else. Why? Nowhere else has Michael Thomas.
Right.
Right? Why would you give up Michael Thomas?
Who's arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, with Michael Thomas?
Yeah, easily. It's crazy. Like, I'm not leaving Michael Thomas. And if I'm Drew Brees, I walk in, I get my contract, and I say part of my contract is every pick we have, we take a receiver.
Are you sure a receiver? What about an offensive line? Because that offensive line could be shored up too.
It's not untalented, though. They're worse.
Well, they definitely got beat up by the Minnesota Vikings defensive line.
I also think that was more of a game planning thing. Just a good job by Mike Zimmer moving his defensive ends inside.
And what about the defense? The secondary needs as much help in the world.
Corner depth, I think they need too.
Right,
that's
defense,
really it.
You have a point. You have to take someone to replace Eli Apple, and then that's it.
And possibly Janoris Jenkins. Who says Janoris Jenkins is going to be back?
Well, whatever. But I mean, receivers.
He played well in that playoff game.
He did. He played very well, which was shocking.
Right, but receivers clearly the biggest problem they have, though, right? Like, it's Michael Thomas, and then what? Your second guy is Ted Ginn, which is not great, and then what? Traquan. I mean, you need another dude. You can't have Traquan Smith and Austin Carr. It's like you're a 3 and 4. You gotta get a couple of guys to help them.
No, you are 100% right. And listen, in this day and age of the NFL, everybody needs a little bit of help everywhere. So Drew Brees definitely needs help. I mean, he has the running back in Alvin Kamara. He has Taysom Hill, who's pretty much does everything that's asked of him, and he does it exceptionally well.
Is still really good. Latavius Murray's a terrific
Yes, and he's a terrific second behind Alvin Kamara type running back.
Right, they have pieces there. It's just receiver is the problem.
You want to know? You want to know what? Who I'm not really sold on is their tight end. I think they could use a night.
Jared Cook's fine.
I mean, Jared Cook played good towards the end of this season, but he wasn't that almighty guy that showed up week in and week out. If anything, I use the wrong words. I want to see Jared Cook be more productive week in and week out. That's what I want to see.
Right, but he's not like an elite high-end guy, like top 5 in the league, dude. But I would give him top 3rd in the league. He's probably a top 10 tight end.
Jared Cook, yeah, I could see him being a top 10 tight end.
You couldn't name 10 tight ends better than Jared Cook.
No, you're right.
You couldn't.
No, you know what? You're 100% right. I can't. You're absolutely 100% right.
You get to like 3, 4, 5, and you're like, oof, who is it? I mean, who's the top 5? You're probably looking at what?
Ertz, Kelsey, Kittles.
Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey. We found top 3, no problem. And then you go, oh, who's next?
Right.
Well, yeah, and that's true. But you could go Jonnu Smith. Absolutely could.
Mark Andrews, maybe.
You could go Mark Andrews from Tennessee.
Okay,
he's a big part of that offense in Baltimore.
Right, fine. You got 5. I'll give you everyone that you can name that you think is better. You're at 5.
No. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not.
I mean, he's a top of the league, like top 3rd of the league tight end. You know?
Yeah, you're 100% right.
So, I mean, it's really receiver that they're lacking. And honestly, if they had more receivers, maybe that would open up more opportunities for Jared Cook.
It's possible because he wouldn't get the brunt of the coverage anymore besides Michael Thomas. It really is Michael Thomas, Jared Cook. That's really what it goes down to. So maybe they do take a receiver in the 1st or 2nd round or something. I'm going to say 2nd round because I think they're going to go secondary help in the 1st round this year. But that's just my prediction for that going forward.
They did that last year. They took
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
And they took the other dude who was he was one of the best tight ends in the league last year.
Tight end?
No, cornerback.
I don't know. They didn't have a 1st round pick. I think their first pick was Eric McCoy, who's their center, and then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was their other pick.
Who's their cornerbacks? Because they took one high recently.
P.J. Williams, Eli Apple, obviously Lattimore, and
Marshawn Lattimore.
That was 17, and he should have never fallen to 11. How he fell to 11 is still beyond me.
Right, but they just took a dude high in the 1st round with that. They might wait till 2nd or 3rd round to take a corner. It's got to be receiver this year. They got to get Drew Brees some help.
I mean, listen, anything is possible. I think they need to shore up Drew Brees first and have him come back, and obviously that'll be taken care of before March and before April and the draft and everything.
They're not going to wait. They'll get that done quickly, man.
Listen, anything is possible in the NFL. Who knows what they're thinking? But I agree with you. Drew Brees needs to go back to New Orleans. But let me ask both of you. I want to ask both of you. If Drew Brees does not go back and he don't retire, where does Drew Brees go?
Tennessee.
Is everybody going to Tennessee, Jeff?
No. I'm not that Cowboys fan from yesterday, right? I'm not like a dope who drafted 3 people with the 17th pick. I'm just saying that's the best team with a quarterback issue. Where if anyone were to be a free agent,
all right, I'm gonna say the Colts again. I'm gonna say the Colts.
But again, I'm going to tell you that the Titans have more beyond T.Y. Hilton.
I'm not disagreeing that they don't have more, but I if you want me to be honest with you, you know me, Jeff. I'm a big component of the trenches, down in the trenches, offensive lines and defensive lines. If you want me to be honest with you, the Colts offensive line is better than the Tennessee Titans offensive line.
I completely agree that it's better, but the Tennessee Titans still have a good one with Taylor Lewan and Conley.
I'm not disagreeing with that, especially what they're doing right now with Derrick Henry, and that's my biggest thing. I'll be honest with you.
And they develop
But if you look at the totality of the offense, right, take the offense as a whole. Okay, well, Indy's got a better offensive line. Who's got better running backs? Is it Marlon Mack or is it Derrick Henry?
Oh, Derrick Henry.
Okay, well, who's got better receivers? Is it A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, or is it T.Y. Hilton and a hurt Paris Campbell?
If Paris Campbell's healthy, I'm taking the Colts.
It depends on which Corey Davis you get to.
Exactly.
Corey Davis is so streaky, you don't know what he's going to get.
Okay, and the Colts don't really have a tight. I mean, they have Jack Doyle. They told Eric Ebron they don't want him back, so it's either Jack Doyle or Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith, because he's a top 5, top 6
Right, so you're
tight
telling
end.
me, right, so you're telling me that you'd rather, as a totality, the offense is probably better with the Titans.
You may be right. You may be right. I don't know. There's just something about the Colts.
I'm looking at like the line is certainly a factor. The running backs are certainly a factor. The receivers and tight ends are certainly a factor. I think the offense as a whole is better in Tennessee.
Jeff, you may absolutely be 100% right there, 100%. But
they're in the playoffs. Where's the Colts right now? Sitting at home.
Yeah. No. Listen. Well, so are the Saints too right now. They're sitting at home as well.
Well, the Saints made the playoffs, though. Come on.
No, you're right. And they kind of got screwed by going 13-3 and getting a 3 seed.
Well, they shouldn't have lost the 49ers.
Yep. Well, that was a good game too. That 49er game. That was a good game.
Their defense blew it, and that's the difference of them getting a 1 seed and a 3 seed.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. I mean that stuff just kind of happens, So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it didn't work. We can sit here with the Patriots and what if they had beaten Miami? They would have got, who cares? They didn't. That's where they landed. So the Saints are where they are. And for me, if Drew Brees is any quarterback, any top-end quarterback, Tennessee is the best spot.
Okay. Fair enough.
And so I don't have everyone going to Tennessee I'm not predicting that's what it is. But, I mean, if you're a top-end quarterback and you don't like where you're at, Tennessee's the place you want to go.
Fair enough. But, Jeff, we're going to go to a quick break again, and then we have to get into – Speedy and I are going to break down the AFC and NFC games. But if you want to call back in about 15 minutes, we're going to do our pick-ems for the divisional games if you would like to get involved.
No pick-ems. I'm done with pick-ems for the year. I don't care about pick-ems, and I don't want to hear any more Cowboys fans. They should be banned from the network, and no more Errol either.
It's funny. Errol's here in the studio right now. He's doing some interviews for a social media company.
What's the social media, Grindr?
I have no idea.
It's probably Grindr.
It might be. Jeff, thanks for calling.
All right. Tell Errol he sucks.
I will too. Oh, man. Always nice to hear from Jeff from Tampa. Taking shots at the Cowboys, taking shots at Errol, the usual.
I'm surprised he didn't say Robbie Anderson Radio.
Yeah. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a quick break. And when we come back from break, Speedy and I are going to quickly break down the NFC and AFC, the AFC divisional rounds. And then we're going to take another break. And then we're going to get into, you guessed it, our pick'ems for the divisional round. We're going to get into that when we come back here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
1-631-300-4477 is the number to reach us here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into it right now. Speedy PD and I are going to do this quickly. Not as quick as we did yesterday with the NFC divisional games, but we're going to break down the AFC divisional games a little bit. And the first game I want to talk about with you and all our listeners right now, Speedy, Tennessee Titans, Baltimore Ravens. Who do you like? What are the big matchups? Give me some X factors. What's going on here?
Defense, and running. And I think this one's very obvious. I expect this to be a lower scoring game. And I said this, I think, right around week 16. I don't know if I actually said it on air. I definitely said it when I was chatting with my brothers watching football. The Tennessee Titans defense, I think, has the best, in terms of the way they're built, matchup against the Ravens' style of play. Fast middle linebackers. Obviously, Jayon Brown has to play. He got hurt against the Patriots. We'll see if he'll play. Rashaan Evans played really well against the Patriots. You got outside rushers that are the best way to stop a running quarterback, containing him and keeping him from running, moving around and extending plays. That'll end up helping a fast corner in Adoree Jackson who has the speed to keep up with Lamar Jackson. Don't be surprised if they use him as a spy, kind of like what the Chargers did in the playoff game last year when they used their corners as quarterback spies. I think you'll see a lot of that. So I expect this game to be very low scoring. It'll be interesting to see with the running backs between Derrick Henry and just the team run game of the Ravens, how that ends up being. But these defenses are both loaded, and I expect this to be kind of a low scoring game. The one weakness of the Titans defense that is concerning, though, is a guy we just mentioned last segment, Mark Andrews. That's the one guy I think that is a big matchup advantage for the Ravens. He has the size against some smaller linebackers. Kevin Byers, a good coverage safety, but he's also smaller. I think he's 6'1", 205 or something like that. Mark Andrews definitely has mismatches there. So that's the one thing that worries me. If Tennessee can game plan well for the tight end, and obviously their offense can just do well enough to beat out the Ravens defense, they could definitely win this game. If you're betting, I would take the Titans to cover the spread because the spread will probably be pretty big. I think the game will be very close. It's in Baltimore, so it will be tough, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Titans defense can steal this game because this game is going to be very close and low scoring.
Yes, and listen, you just brought up a very big matchup that I want to bring up as well, and that's the Mark Andrews versus the Tennessee Titans linebackers and nickel package. And we could choose a number of different matchups in this game, but I'm leaning towards Andrews because of how important he is to Lamar Jackson's success, okay? Mark Andrews, he leads all Ravens pass catchers with 64 receptions, 852 yards, and 10 touchdowns. But Baltimore's deep stable of tight ends caught only 125 for 1,500, second best in both categories in the NFL. This leads the Titans on the tracks with a Ravens train of tight ends barreling towards them. Tennessee has allowed 9 touchdown passes to tight ends in 2019. Third most in the NFL behind Carolina, the Cardinals, and the Browns. So, again, a major reason why this is happening is because of the success of Baltimore's rushing attack. It's going to be, again, this game, if Derrick Henry is able to run the football effectively, I've said this all week, if Derrick Henry could run the ball like he did against New England, against Baltimore, which will be a much tougher, stern front four than the New England Patriots, okay, Tennessee Titan has a real shot to win this game. They really, 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 really do. Now, Baltimore has to stick to its success. They have to do what's best for them. They shouldn't change anything. Their bread and butter is working. Let Lamar Jackson go in a shotgun. Let him fake. Let him run. Let Lamar Jackson make his decision.
But their bread and butter is creative, too, so it's not easy to prepare for.
I still, to this day, think Lamar Jackson's the 31st best quarterback in the NFL, only in front of Andy Dalton. Every other quarterback in the NFL is better than Lamar Jackson.
So it's you, Tyler, and Bill Polian.
What?
On the still not sure about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be sure after 1 year because next year he could stink. So we'll wait and see. And Speedy, I said this from the beginning of the season. He was the 31st best quarterback in the NFL, only in front of Andy Dalton.
Your boy.
Only in front of Andy Dalton, who I hate more than life itself. So, yeah, I think Mark Andrews in that nickel package of the Titans is going to be a big, big factor. Derrick Henry is going to be a big, big factor as well. Because, again, if he could run the ball like he has been, and Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL right now. I hate to break it to Saquon Barkley lovers. I hate to break it to Christian McCaffrey lovers and especially Ezekiel Elliott lovers. The best downfield runner in the NFL.
Oh, specifically, okay.
Is Derrick Henry.
All right. If you're judging that, okay, I was going to say. Because
as a pure running back, Christian McCaffrey does it all. Right, but as a pure running back, I'm taking Derrick Henry over everybody. I am. With the way he's performed this season, it's not even close. He's been the best running back in the NFL. So, yeah, it's going to be down in the trenches, offensive line versus defensive line on both sides of the ball. If Tennessee could get to Lamar Jackson and stop him from creating stuff with his feet, again, it's going to be an interesting game. So we're going to keep our eye on that game. And now, Speedy, the other AFC game, which is right up your alley. Your two favorite teams of all time. The Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. Go ahead.
Well, the enemy of the enemy is your friend, so of course I like the Chiefs. So, yeah, this is interesting because this was a close game in the first meeting. I don't expect this to be as high scoring as the first meeting, which I think was 31-27 Houston. And obviously, quarterback duel in that one. And it's still going to be a quarterback duel, but both these defenses definitely grown in the second half of the year. Kansas City, believe it or not, actually finished with a top 10 pass defense. And the Texans, even without J.J. Watt for much of the year, finished with a top 10 run defense. So it's definitely going to be very interesting. The Texans may move to improve their secondary, bringing Gary and Conley, bringing in Vernon Hargraves. The Chiefs doing the same in the offseason with Bashaw Breeland, with Honey Badger. So it's, I think, two defenses that just grew over time over the course of the year. I still think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but it's not going to be as high-scoring as the first meeting.
How's the weather going to be there?
As far as I know, it's still going to be pretty good.
So no snow or anything?
I think windy for sure, but I don't know about snow. I didn't hear anything with that. So I think it's going to be, in terms of the snow and rain, I think it'll be fine. It's not going to be like the Colts Chiefs last year, which was a downpour of snow. So I don't think that'll be an issue. I think the biggest X factor really is who runs the ball better, because both these running backs and just running games are very questionable. You saw Duke Johnson play well in the first half against Buffalo, and that's definitely a promising sign, because that is the biggest weakness for the Chiefs is stopping the run, but even that they improved in over the course of the year. And then the Chiefs, they have Damian Williams, who stepped up at the end of the season. You had Damian Williams, who played well in the playoffs last year. LaShawn McCoy, who's played with Andy Reid before, has been good in the playoffs in the past for Philadelphia. So which running game I think will get it going will be the difference. That opens up play action. Both these quarterbacks are great on play action. Both these quarterbacks are great at play extensions. And that'll end up being a big difference. Both these receiving cores are very similar, where you got the one star and then a bunch of guys that are streaky after that, but can be deep threats, can be effective guys. So it'll definitely be very interesting. Being in Kansas City, it will be tough, but the Arrowhead crowd has definitely seen heartbreaks before, so don't be surprised if the Texans win this either.
So you like the Texans in it?
I know. I'm not going to reveal.
No,
I'm
don't
not gonna
reveal
reveal my pick yet, but it will be a close game. And again, home field advantage this year has been very strange. The Saints have kind of lost it a little bit. The Patriots, the Seahawks, these tough home crowds haven't been as effective as they have been in years past. So don't be surprised if the same thing happens with Kansas City.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's going to be really interesting. Again, this game is going to be a very, very good game as well. I don't know if I could trust the Houston Texans to play all four quarters. I love the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs have had a break, so to give their guys some much-needed rest. Patrick Mahomes, of course, resting his knee, even though he's looked fantastic since he's come back. Again, this game is going to be won on the quarterbacks. Whichever quarterback has the better game is going to win this game. Patrick Mahomes versus Deshaun Watson. And if you want me to be honest with you, this is going to be a no-brainer in my opinion. Even though, Speedy, you are right with the home field advantage and stuff like that. But we're going to wait and see till we go over our pick'ems. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break. That was just Speedy and I breaking down the AFC divisional games since yesterday. Speedy and I broke down the NFC divisional games. We decided to break down the AFC divisional games today. But we are going to go to a quick break, and when we do come back from break, Speedy and I will be getting into, that's right, the NFL Pick'ems here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
1-631-300-4477 is the number to reach us here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a special guest in the building, the host of the morning show, Mr. Mark. How are you today, buddy?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on. And you've just come on for the best segment of our Thursday show. Yeah, this is what we do.
I'm talking to Chris Berman here.
This is what we do. He could. Go.
Yeah. Prime time.
Yep. But this is what we do. Exactly. It is now our Thursday Pick'ems. And Speedy, you are up first, buddy. We're going to go with the Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers. Go ahead.
I've kind of hinted at this all week. This one I think is the upset. I'm going to take the Vikings here. I like the Vikings in terms of the matchups they have, in terms of taking out the best concepts of the 49ers offense. That run defense is really good. Mike Zimmer did a great job at attacking the Saints on the interior offensive line. The Niners' interior offensive line is nothing special. I think they do the same thing again. They got the linebackers and safeties to maneuver around against Kittle to contain him. Eric Kendricks, performance-wise, has been one of the best coverage linebackers in the league this year. Harrison Smith has always been one of the best safeties. I think that makes a difference. And again, like I said, if they just get average-level protection, which they've done all season, they could definitely just get protection for Kirk Cousins, and Dalvin Cook using him in the pass game I think makes a difference too. I think the Vikings receivers have nice matchups against smaller corners for the 49ers. Richard Sherman will lock down one side, and then they'll use the rest. I really think that'll make a difference in this game. Niners are a little inexperienced. They don't have a great home field advantage. And I think the Vikings really have some good matchup advantages here. I think it'll be a very close game. If the Vikings get no protection, the Niners will win this easily, but I think the Vikings take it here. I'll take them 23-20.
23-20, Minnesota Vikings. That's not a bad score prediction. I actually don't mind that score prediction or the team winning. But Mark, you're up. Give us what you like and don't like. Tell us about it.
Well, what I don't like about the 49ers is their current experience. Garoppolo, you don't know what you're going to get yet because
you're taking the words right out of my mouth.
It's his first playoff game. 2011, when they hadn't been to the playoffs for the first time in a while, they played the Saints at home. It was a great back-and-forth game, and they were able to beat the Saints, who probably were the favorite at that time. And that's how the Giants essentially got to the Super Bowl in 2011, because they didn't have to play New Orleans. They got to play San Francisco. But this will be the 15th time in their history that they will be hosting a divisional round game at home. So you know that they can do it. You know that they've been to the Super Bowl as a franchise. They've won a number of Super Bowls. So I would give them the credit as far as being, Vikings coming in, and Minnesota's got to still prove something, all right? Cousins took a step last week, but we've seen
a huge step last week.
But we've seen examples like this. Everybody kind of crapped on him after he lost that Monday night
game.
Actually, no,
because he hasn't won a big-time game in his entire career. Right. So to win that could be a stepping stone to get him forward.
But that's how it's done. Usually is when teams sneak up on you, like the last year with the Blues or with the Capitals in 2018. Yeah. You had it with the Red Sox. You've had it with a number of teams. Steelers in 2005 when they went to the Super Bowl as a wild card. They were the number 1 seed in 2004 when they lost to the Patriots in the championship game at home. Put them in as the number 6 seed and they went make it to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that needs to happen. And I think everybody kind of just passed on the Vikings and Cousins going into this playoff year, but they have a huge amount of talent on offense. They've got a very fast defense, and they're capable of beating all these teams and making them run. So I predict an upset. I think the Vikings are going to win. It's going to be more of a defensive battle. I'd say something about 20-13.
20-13, defensive battle, low-scoring game. For one, I want to take the Minnesota Vikings, okay? I'm going to gamble on this game, and I am going to take the Minnesota Vikings. But for the sake of this show, I'm going to take the 49ers, okay? Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm messing with everybody. I'm all about the Minnesota Vikings. What they proved to me last week, that defensive line able to get to the quarterback of Drew Brees' caliber is something I haven't seen a lot ever. Now you're going up against an inexperienced quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, which is his first ever playoff start. I'm going to take Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings, and 2 other reasons why I'm taking them to win the game. One, their play-action pass offense against that play-action pass defense. The Minnesota Vikings are ranked 3rd or 4th in the NFL in play-action pass in that offense, and you want to know what San Francisco 49ers defense is? 27th to play-action pass, and that's what Minnesota does so great.
Good point.
And here's my last one before I give you my score. I saw this on ESPN. 3 teams on their opening drive fumbled the football on their opening drive in the playoffs. They went to the Super Bowl. It was the Packers and it was the Seahawks when they all went to the Super Bowl and won. So I like those odds. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings in this one. 24-20. Minnesota Vikings are going to have this game. Speedy, next game. Tennessee, Baltimore.
Like I hinted at earlier, a lot of running, a lot of defense both ways. I think it'll kind of cancel out. There's just too much of it both ways. I think they'll both kind of be around 100 yards between Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, those guys, and Derrick Henry, but none of them are overly going to dominate this game just because of the way these defenses are. These 2 defenses are great. They're very similar. I'm going to take the Ravens just because of the coaching and the matchup I said earlier, just to the tight ends. It's not just Mark Andrews, it's also Nick Boyle and Hayden Hurst. I think they're going to use a lot of that in this game. And I think the Titans will do it too to an extent, but with the injury of Delaney Walker, I think it'll be a lot harder for them. And also the one other thing that concerns me is the Titans' interior offensive line hasn't been as good this year. I think the loss of Quentin Spain has hurt them this year, and I think that's where I think it'll be harder for Derrick Henry, and I think it'll be harder for Ryan Tannehill to do exactly what they were able to do at times against the New England Patriots. And the Ravens, again, they don't utilize the wide receivers really, so I think you can see the tight ends really step up, and I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think coaching makes a difference in this game and them just being at home. And I think the Titans will lose a little bit of the emotional ride they had from beating the Patriots South, essentially, beating the Patriots. So I'll take the Ravens. I think it'll be very close. I think that if the Titans win, they can definitely go far because that'll be the statement. And it will be close. Take the Titans to cover. But I think the Ravens win the game 20-14.
Okay, fair enough. Mark.
Yeah, I think there could be a rust effect here for the Ravens.
So having those weeks off, it could hurt them.
It could, but look, they were in the playoffs last year. That was kind of like their inauguration. Okay, Lamar Jackson got taught a lot of lessons in last year's playoff game.
A lot.
You've seen how he's developed this year. Okay, the Ravens have the first offense in NFL history to have 3,000 yards rushing, 3,000 yards passing. They're incredibly diverse. If you see what happens in the playoffs is you get your best thing taken away from you, and the opponent says, well, we're not going to let you do this. You're going to have to beat us another way. The Ravens can beat you multiple ways. If you take away their running game, they can shove Mark Ingram down your throat. If you take away Ingram, they could use Lamar Jackson. If you take away that, they can beat you with a play-action pass. Their tight ends,
Mark Andrews
and company, always seem to be open. 3 times this year, Lamar Jackson threw for 5 touchdowns in a game. That's only been done
couple other times, not a lot.
3 or 4 times that's been done. Records Peyton Manning in 2004 did it 4 times. But people forget he threw over 30 touchdown passes, and he didn't really throw the ball that much. So they can beat you a multitude of ways. I like that going forward. Harbaugh and his experience. See, people who don't think the Ravens are experienced, it's really Lamar Jackson who's not experienced. The Ravens overall are very experienced. The other thing I'm worried about with the Ravens, though, is that this is the first time they are the hunting. They are not the hunters. Sometimes that makes a difference. I don't think it will. I think Harbaugh will have these guys ready. And I think there'll be a little bit of a layover of the fact that Titans beat the Patriots. And maybe they won't look at it like, I think of when the Jets beat the Patriots in 2010 and then they went to Pittsburgh, we're down 24-0. That was kind of like their Super Bowl. So I expect Baltimore to win, and I expect Baltimore to go to the Super Bowl, but I expect them to win this game pretty easily. I'm going to say about 27-10.
27. Wow, that's a blowout. 17 points. That's a pretty high score. I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to say it over and over. If Derrick Henry runs the football like he did against New England, and the Tennessee Titans can control that clock, okay, the Titans are going to be in that game at the end. If he is not able to or capable of doing that against this tough, stern front four of the Baltimore Ravens, it's going to be an absolute blowout. But I think he's going to be able to run the football against them. And I think Mike Vrabel is growing up in front of our eyes as a head coach, because the moves he did against Bill Belichick, pulling out that dumb move, letting the clock run, taking the penalties. He learned that from Bill Belichick.
That was awesome.
He's growing up in front of our eyes, and I really, really, really like Mike Vrabel as a head coach. But yes, Baltimore Ravens are just going to be too much. That they use the tight ends better than anybody I've seen besides New England when they had Rob Gronkowski and even Mr. Hernandez over there. Baltimore Ravens are going to win this game, but I think the Tennessee Titans will cover the 10. Baltimore's going to win this game 27-20. That's what I think is going to happen. Next game, Speedy, Houston, Kansas City. Go ahead.
This is interesting. Like I said, I think you got quarterback duels, but you also got 2 defenses that have definitely improved from where they were over the course of the season. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs for 2 reasons. One of which is Steve Spagnuolo, I think, has done a nice job with those corner depth and safety depth that they've had to utilize with the injuries they've had throughout the year. And those blitzes, I think, are going to make it a lot tougher on Deshaun Watson and a lot tougher on that offensive line, which had a lot of trouble in that game against Buffalo. I think Buffalo had 5 sacks on them. Deshaun Watson, I think, will be able to do some play extensions at times. The thing is, I think Spagnuolo knows how to adjust to those kinds of things, too. I think that'll make a difference. And I think Patrick Mahomes, I think, just against a raw pass rush and just having a slightly better offensive line, will have an easier time extending plays in this game. The Texans' corner depth is better, I think, in terms of stopping those receivers. But I also think the size of DeAndre Hopkins and also the tight ends, I think, will make a difference. That being said, I think the Chiefs still, I just trust them a little better with Andy Reid and with the backs they have just to run the ball a little more. I trust the coaching of it to come through with that and with Spagnuolo in this game. I think that'll make the difference. I mentioned the home field isn't going to play as big of a factor, but I'm going to take the Chiefs to win. The Texans had trouble making it out of round 2 for a while, and I think this is where I think, especially after a big comeback like they had a little bit of a slow start, a little bit of a letdown. Deshaun Watson leads them back, but it won't be enough. I'll take Kansas City 24-20.
Mark, go ahead.
Well, I think earlier this year, Kansas City lost at home, and the thing was that Houston was able to take advantage of the fact that Kansas City's defense was really hurting. I think Kansas City's made a lot of adjustments and a lot of improvements on defense.
Well, they have their injured players back.
Yeah. And also, it kind of be a little bit misleading because of the opponents they played last couple of weeks. But I think that all of the experience they have in failing in the playoffs, getting to the point where they did last year and almost getting to the Super Bowl, there is absolutely no excuse for them to lose anymore. The Patriots are gone. They have home field advantage. They have everything going in their favor. They have one of the best quarterbacks who's multidimensional, the new age quarterbacks. Andy Reid needs to win now, and there are no more excuses for him. I don't care what happens. I don't care what example is put out there. This is their time to win. I think they're going to – I'm going to say this will be a tight game late, but then they'll separate themselves in the fourth quarter. About a 30-17.
Okay. That's not a bad score. I'm going to say this. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a field day against this Houston Texans defense if the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs are to stop J.J. Watt, because the reason why the Houston Texans won last week against the Bills was because in the second half, J.J. Watt decided to put that team and that defense on his shoulders and just dominate every which way. If they're able to stop him or contain J.J. Watt, Kansas City's going to win this game easily. Bill O'Brien, he should have been fired. I think he should have been fired a little while ago, because his teams are always underperforming. And when they were down 16-0, I thought there was going to be a pink slip when he got back into the locker room because of the way he coached that game. He got very lucky. He's lucky Deshaun Watson could make Superman-type maneuvers in that pocket. Led them to the game-winning field goal. But again, I think Patrick Mahomes is a MVP-type guy. We know Lamar Jackson's going to win it, but Patrick Mahomes is an MVP-type guy. Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this one. I think it's going to be a blowout, too. I don't even think it's going to be close. I'm going to say 35-20, the Kansas City Chiefs. Last and final games before we get out of here. Seattle and Green Bay. Speedy.
This one will be close, too. There's history with these two teams. I think Seattle definitely has some matchup advantages they can definitely exploit. And coaching has been good. We got the old and the new kind of. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to take the Packers. I think it'll be close. I'm going to take the Packers for two reasons. One of which I think I like the matchup for Jimmy Graham in this game. Seattle has trouble guarding tight ends. And Matt LaFleur, I think, actually will use the tight ends. We saw Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy in the past not use the tight ends. I think he will actually use the tight end, and he's going to want to stick it to his former team. I think that'll be one big X factor that does come through. The Packers' offensive line has definitely grown, especially on the interior this season. And I just think their defense, the outside rushing defense that they have, will be able to make a difference on this Seattle offensive line, which had some trouble last week. They're strong in the middle, but outside, they're just not as good. They have bigger offensive linemen that I don't know if they're as adjusted to the NFL. And I do think Russell Wilson will have some great play extensions at times, but I think it'll be hard for him to throw the ball. And with those running backs hurt, I don't know if Marshawn Lynch can carry the load like he has in the past. He's really, at this point, kind of a 15-carry-a-game guy at most. And they need him to play well. If he doesn't play well, I think it'll be hard. So I think that'll help. And I just think the Packers' defense right now has a slight advantage. Just with their outside rushing game. And Seattle has the receivers, but the Packers also have the corners, so I think that'll end up making a difference.
Speedy, turn that music down. I can barely hear you.
Yeah, I think that'll end up making a difference. And usually there's one second receiver that breaks out for Green Bay. I think whether it's Lazard, whether it's Geronimo Allison, or Valdes-Scantling, I think somebody will play well, and that'll make a difference. I'll take the Packers close. One-score game, 27-21.
Mr. Mark?
I think Metcalf was a huge weapon for them against Philadelphia. I think they've developed some continuity. After struggling for a little bit in the second half of the season, Russell Wilson's picked it back up again this last 4 games. He's been more of the board than he was earlier in the season. What bothers me, though, is the payback factor. The fact that Green Bay lost that awful game a couple years ago in the championship game. Aaron Rodgers running out of time to win another Super Bowl. This is kind of his time to do that. But what really bothers me about the Packers is that they've played some really bad games at times this year, losing to the Chargers. They got blown out in a Sunday night game, also at home. So I don't think that they've been as consistent as they should be. And at 13-3 and winning the division, I think that Seattle has enough experience, has enough know-how to go in there and beat them. So I expect Seattle to go to the championship game, and for this to be, I think Russell Wilson's going to really outplay Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to see the inexperience with the head coach for Green Bay, Matt LaFleur. And so I expect to see about a 28-17 final.
Interesting. That's a big score, to be honest with you. I sit back here and I think about this game. One, it's a repeat of the 2015 NFC Championship game, which, let me tell you, Green Bay has not forgot. Aaron Rodgers has not forgot about that game when they gave up, when they lost the fourth quarter 15-6 and lost in overtime. That's one thing that's going to be in the back of Aaron Rodgers' mind. He wants revenge. But how lucky are we that we get to see these two Hall of Fame type quarterbacks go at each other. And this is where the game's going to be won. It's going to be won at the quarterback position. And I firmly believe I'm going to give the edge right now to the Green Bay Packers because their run game is much, much better than the Seattle Seahawks run game. Because let's be real here. Yeah, they have Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch didn't come back till week 17. Okay? He still looked a step slow in that game against the San Francisco 49ers. He looked athletic, jumping up into the air and into the end zone on the touchdown. But with the way Aaron Jones has been playing this season, he's been playing on another level. I really, really, really like Green Bay in this game. I don't trust the run game of Seattle. And I think Green Bay just wants revenge on the Seattle Seahawks. And I love Russell Wilson. I do. I'm excited to just sit back and enjoy this football game because of what we get to see. The Hall of Fame type quarterbacks that are going one-on-one against each other. We couldn't be any luckier to see such a thing. I think Green Bay is going to win this game 28-27. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. Maybe come down to a last-minute field goal, maybe 27-24, something along those lines. But this is going to be a very, very good game, and I like the Green Bay Packers to win this game. 27-24. I changed it or whatever. Speedy had 28-27, whatever. It don't matter. But, yeah, that's what I really, really like. Mark, I want to thank you for coming on my show for the last Pick'em segment that we do every Thursday during the football season. Honestly, it's Speedy's and I. It's our favorite time during football season, our Thursday Pick'em show. Speedy, what has it been? 2-3 years running now, right?
Yep.
Since we went into our old studio in Oakdale.
Since September 2017.
Yeah. So we've been doing it. So it's been outstanding.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our show here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We will be back on Monday at 4 p.m. Myself, Mr. Speedy Petey. Maybe Katie will be here. We'll see how things are going with that. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of big stuff coming along for this network. Make sure you tune in. We're on radio.com. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. We are everywhere, every social media platform, every digital media platform. So make sure you tune in and stay on top with everything that's going on with us because 2020 is going to be a great year for us here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. But that's it for our show here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.